Milo the mouse lived with his big brother Max. They had the coziest mouse hole. It was small but warm and comfy, and they slept snuggled in little beds made from the softest, silkiest wool. Their mouse hole was tucked away inside a wall, and Max had chosen it long ago when they were seeking a place to live, and this one seemed perfect. It was a bedroom wall in a house that belonged to a human family, so it was quiet and peaceful, especially at night, tucked up in their beds in the mouse hole. Max and Milo enjoyed long nights of deep, dreamy sleep, dreaming of cheese most of the night. Cheddar cheese, Milo's favorite, was especially tasty. Usually Max and Milo slept very well, but there was one problem. Max snored. On some nights, Milo woke from a wonderful cheese dream and heard Max snoring. Sometimes it was a snuffling sound, and sometimes it sounded like he was chuckling. Max himself made some very funny noises. Milo didn't mind it much when his brother snored, except when it woke him from an especially good dream. Occasionally, he wished he had his own mouse hole where nothing would ever bother him, and he could enjoy endless dreams of cheddar cheese. So one morning, Milo made a decision during a breakfast of toasted breadcrumbs. Milo told Max what he planned to do. "It is time for me to find my own mouse," Milo said. "After all, I am nearly grown up, too grown up to share a hole with my brother. I am going to look for a new place to sleep at night." Max smiled. It was like his little self, the brother who always wanted to do things on his own and become more grown up, wished Milo good luck. But Max reminded him that there would always be a bed for him. After breakfast, the two mice hugged goodbye, and Milo set off on his adventure. He felt very grown up as he left the mouse hole and scuttled happily across the bedroom carpet. It was a bedroom belonging to a child, about 4 or 5 years old, so toys covered the floor. Milo had to navigate through a maze of gigantic, colorful building blocks and shiny toy cars. What a mess, Milo thought. Milo preferred to keep his space neat and tidy. Cleanliness was a lesson his brother had taught him to always tidy up. Milo thought it did not matter, especially since he was leaving the bedroom anyway. He hurried through the maze of toys, down the hallway, down the stairs, and into the living room. The room was bright and clean, with a beautiful wooden on the floor as Milo walked across it. his paws went click, 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 and hidden behind the sofa was a spacious mouse hole. Milo smiled when he saw it. Yes, he decided this would be his new home. He spent the day decorating and making a cozy bed out of feathers he found in the sofa cushion. Soon it was nighttime. Milo usually went to bed early, around 7 o'clock. Like most mice, he needed a lot of sleep. So just before 7 o'clock, Milo settled down in his soft, feathery bed. Usually, his brother tucked him in and said good night. It was a little strange not having Max there, but Milo reminded himself that he was the big mouse, was nearly grown up. So he no longer needed his brother to tuck him in. He would visit Max tomorrow and tell him all about his new home. Milo closed his eyes, tired and looking forward to a good night's sleep. But just as he began to drift off, he heard a strange noise outside his mouse hole. Sounded like voices and music all tangled together. Oh no, Milo thought. This was worse than Max's snoring. He sat up sleepily, rubbed his eyes, paused briefly, then got out of bed and crept outside to see what was going on. Milo could hear voices from above as the human family sat on the sofa chatting. When Milo peeked over the edge of the sofa, he could see the large TV on the opposite wall. The screen was full of flashing, moving pictures, and it was making all kinds of sounds. He couldn't sleep here tonight with all these noises, so he would have to try another room. He hurried across the living room floor to the kitchen, whose floor had black and white tiles like a large chessboard. Milo's paws tapped as he scuttled across the floor until he reached another mouse. There was a gap in the wall just behind the fridge, and Milo settled happily into the new mouse hole. It was quiet here, and he could smell the lovely cooking smells. His whiskers twitched as he sniffed the air, its cheesy aroma, which he found delicious. He figured he would be quite happy here, surrounded by tasty treats. Smelling after making himself a bed out of a kitchen towel, Milo curled up, ready to sleep. He let out a big squeaky yawn and closed his eyes. But just as he felt himself nodding off, he heard another noise. It sounded like clinking and clanking, mixed with a great gush of water. What on earth could it be? Milo woke up and went to see what was going on. When he looked outside, he he saw the source of the noise. The man who lived in the house was by the kitchen sink, washing all the pots and pans, wearing yellow gloves. Oh dear, Milo thought. How could he sleep with all the clinking and clanging, not to mention the gushing? Water. He would have to keep looking. There had to be a quieter room somewhere. Then Milo had a thought. It was the humans who were making all the noise at the moment. They all seemed to be downstairs, watching TV in the living room and washing up in the kitchen. If the humans were downstairs, Milo should go. Upstairs at last, he would surely find peace and quiet. Milo, sleepy, climbed the stairs, yawning with every step. The carpet felt very soft beneath his paws. It would be nice, Milo thought, to curl up and fall asleep right there. But he kept going, all the way upstairs and down the hall, until he got to the bathroom was dark, cozy, and completely silent. He could not hear a single noise, thank goodness, Milo thought, and he began to look around the bathroom, searching for a mouse hole, and soon found the perfect spot in the wall. Hidden behind a basket full of the hole was so small that Milo could barely squeeze in. But it would do for tonight. He decided he did not need much space, just a quiet place to sleep. Then Milo made himself a bed again, this time a soft nest of cotton balls. It wasn't as soft as his old one. The bed was comfortable enough, and Milo was so sleepy that he knew he would drift off in no time. Yawning, he curled up in his cottony bed. Then he closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and opened them again. What was that noise? It sounded like gushing water again, but it was louder than before. Earlier, like during a rain shower or a waterfall, Milo huffed, got out of bed, and once more poked his head out of the hole to see what was happening. He found that in the bathroom someone was using the shower. The glass steamed up, and the water was gushing down. Milo stood there for a moment, listening to the shower produced a pleasant sound. The flowing water was loud, but soothing. Perhaps if he stayed a little longer, he would grow used to it and fall asleep. Then he shook his head. No, he did not want to stay here. Not when there was another, much quieter room just down the hall. Soon Milo was back to where he started, the bedroom. But this time, to his surprise, the floor was clean. The toys had all been tidied away. Milo was very pleased. pleased by this. Now it was much easier for him to move around the room. Instead of weaving between the toy blocks and cars, he would walk straight across the open space on the carpet. And although it was dark now, he had no trouble finding his way and knew exactly where he was headed. When he reached the mouse hole, he looked around. Max was curled up in his bed, and Milo had his own bed there, looking warm and soft. Milo let out a big, happy sigh. It felt so good to be back at home. Max woke up, smiling to see his little brother Milo. He got out of bed and prepared a simple meal for Milo, a delicious cheese sandwich. As Milo ate, he told Max all about his adventures. It had been fun. He said the house was so big, and there was still much to explore. But exploration was for the daytime. At night, he preferred being here at home with his brother. After Milo finished his midnight snack, he climbed into his cozy woolen bed. Max tucked him in and said good night. Then he returned to his own bed. Milo settled in contentedly, having tried many different beds today. But this one was the most comfortable, with the familiar smell of home. Then he heard a familiar sound, Max snoring softly. Milo had heard many sounds today, including the TV and the pots and pans. In comparison, Max's snoring was like a soothing lullaby. Milo grew sleepier and sleepier, certain that he would sleep well tonight and have wonderful dreams of cheddar cheese. He closed his eyes, let out another contented sigh, and soon he too was fast asleep.